Nana Shimura just dropped out of nowhere. We didn't know how often My Hero All's Justice was going to update, but after Star and Stripes release so close to the game's launch, we didn't expect to go 3 months without news. Well, I guess now we know to expect new DLC every 3 months on this game. There are 3 more characters to come. Who do you think is next? Let me know in the comments down below. And Nana was a nice surprise. Not many people had her in their predictions, as she really didn't do much fighting in the show, meaning most of the moveset we have here is completely made up. But did they cook, or is this DLC an easy skip? Welcome to the guide and review for Nana Shimura in All's Justice. Let's go through her basics. Nana's quirk is float, so naturally she has a floating ability that she can activate by using her quirk 3 or by landing the last hit of her target combo, both on the ground or in the air. This means that if you play on normal controls, you can't activate it this way. You have to be playing on manual. But quirk 3 is going to be the main way of activating it anyway, so if you don't want to switch over from normal controls, you don't have to. Float allows Nana to hover in the air with full movement control, but she descends slowly back down to the ground because gravity is still a thing. While floating, you can air dash as many times as you want without ever landing, and it also changes some of her moves. Plus, it makes her harder to hit with stuff since opponents have to jump to get to you. Her moveset really floats around this unique ability. The target combo ends in this big uppercut. You have to land the hit to actually activate the float. On block, it does not work. The air combo ends in this ground bounce, which is perfect for combo extensions, and once again it activates the floating state. Her unblockable looks okay at first, but this is one of the moves that actually gets buffed by floating, because it allows her to do her unblockable from the air and it gains incredible range. Using it spends the float though, so make sure you land the hit. That way you can get the full target combo again to just get the float back. Counterattack, on the other hand, is this long-range charge that has a follow-up on hit, but you can also cancel the follow-up with any quirk button if you want to cook up some combos. The air counter is also a ground bounce that leaves the opponent at the perfect height for combo extensions. The float state doesn't seem to change the counters as far as I could tell. Before I talk, I'm gonna drink water. Before I talk about each quirk specifically, know that all of them change if you're in the floating state. And all of them can refresh your float if you just hit the button again. Quirk 1, for example, by default, it's just a kick with a projectile attached to it. Kinda good for mid-range zoning and also a good combo finisher. But if you have float, the range of the projectiles becomes much bigger and it gives you the option to hold down the quirk button to turn this into a projectile flurry. That's the float effect right there, buffing quirk 1. But since you use this quirk while floating, you can now press the quirk button again and Nana will do this backflip which refreshes the float. But in order to do this refresh, you need to land the hit, otherwise the float will just end. This is how every quirk button works. If you do the quirk while float is active, you can press the button again and Nana will do the flip to refresh it. Quirk 2 here is a flurry of punches, a very familiar quirk. If you've ever played these games, a lot of characters have this. You mash the button to extend it, increasing the number of hits and damage. For this quirk, float just increases the number of hits and damage too, and also makes this quirk safe on block. If you do it without the float state, it is unsafe. Quirk 3 is basically your quick float button. It's a fast dodge that activates the float. It's the easiest way to start floating since it doesn't even require you to land any hits on your opponent. It sounds simple, but it also has a little trick. You can dodge in any direction you want to activate float, but you will always go this far unless you tap the block button. You can actually stop the character's momentum that way, which is going to be very useful for some combos later on, because this is basically a block cancel. In the air, quirk 3 is a dive kick, and while it sounds simple, the way it knocks the opponent down or up or back completely changes depending on the angle you hit them from. This is one of those quirks that might have some crazy tech to be discovered in the future. Float here buffs its damage and gives it this bubble explosion wherever you land the kick. Finally, quirk 4 is a hit grab that automatically does these follow-ups on hit. You can also hold down this button to make the initial dash unblockable like many other quirk 4s, and if you have float activated, this quirk will ground splat, giving you an easy combo extension. And yes, even with the unblockable version. Pretty good stuff. As soon as you pop Rising, time stops on the match and you immediately start floating. Plus, your float no longer slowly falls back down to the ground. And while in Rising, float is activated by doing pretty much any action in the air, like a single attack, a dash, a dodge. Everything activates float. You don't even need to hit the opponent with anything. All of her quirks are enhanced, but they don't really change properties. For the most part, they're just bigger and deal more damage, with the exception of Quirk 4, which is always unblockable now without needing to hold down the button. Her rising action is a unique one. It's this dash that once it connects goes into all of these follow-ups. It's mostly a combo tool, though you can definitely catch people in neutral with this. But combo-wise, you can do this after any quirk, and it does link into her Plus Ultra. Speaking of, her Plus Ultra is a melee kick activation. If the kick doesn't connect, nothing else happens. But if it does, she makes this huge tornado and then she farms some aura. This Plus Ultra feels very inconsistent right now. And at first I thought it was just my fault because I didn't know Edge Shot currently has a bug where you can't follow up Plus Ultras after him, and that's a bummer because I wanted to play Edge Shot today. Or sometimes I dropped the combo before the Plus Ultra even came out. Fine, yes, those times it was me. But then it dropped again, and this time it was with Mirio. And even when it doesn't drop, it looks like it's going to. It's so close. So it just feels like I can't trust it in many of my routes, but nothing a patch can't fix. I'm gonna start with this beginner-friendly combo, and I'm gonna assume that you're already flying because if you're playing Nana, you should be floating most of the time. But even if you don't have float activated, this combo still works perfectly. And if you want to finish this with the Plus Ultra, you can. You get a nice 300 bonus damage from it. For more advanced combos, you're going to need to use the Quirk 3 block cancel, which is very easy. After Quirk 3, just hold the block button and you will stop that momentum. You need to interrupt that flying animation to pick up the combo again. This is especially good if you're starting combos from the ground, which does happen sometimes, and you don't want to leave any damage on the table when that happens. This combo can also end with a Plus Ultra if you want to end with that bonus 300 damage. In Rising, you can also throw your Rising action at the end of the combo if you want to squeeze out just a little more. Nana likes to float, that much is clear. She has better quirks while floating, better movement while floating, better buttons while floating, so make sure you're floating. With her quirk 3, it's really not hard to activate it, and there's very little the opponent can do about it. But even with float, she doesn't have a very oppressive neutral. Her attack is super slow, it's easy to react to, she doesn't have any big neutral skips, so neutral with her ends up having a lot of quirk 1 projectiles into tagging in the next character. However, if you find an opponent that likes to sit still, make sure you punish that behavior with your floating unblockable. That's a really strong option. Her Rising doesn't feel very strong, to be honest. She does get an unblockable quirk 4, so if you happen to use a Rising with her, definitely abuse that, but her Rising action isn't that impressive. It's mostly a combo tool that doesn't really add that much damage, and being able to activate float easier is nice, but it's not a trade-off I will take for not being able to tag out of my character. And that's probably because the float itself isn't that powerful of an ability. It makes Nana stronger for sure, but just the ability to fly isn't all that powerful in this game. It's good for some counter picks for sure. It's good to play defensively and maybe run out the clock on some risings or some oppressive plays. For instance, most characters only have unblockable attacks on the ground, so you feel pretty safe just blocking up there. But against most characters, yeah, you're not that scary. It's never easy making up a moveset from scratch when you don't have any references to pull from the show. Some will argue that this wasn't a great choice of DLC because of that. After all, This is My Hero Academia. We have so many characters who actually fought, and they are still not in the game. But I love it when video games exist as extensions of the shows I love, and not just as references. I think it's so much more exciting to see how Nana Shimura could have potentially fought in her prime from an officially licensed video game, rather than getting another character where I just get to point to the screen and say, oh my god, she does that just like the show. I mean, there's a lot of credit to give out when abilities are accurately recreated, but that's kind of become the expectation nowadays. This feels fresh, this feels risky, but more importantly, it feels accurate. I think the devs definitely showed us how she used to fight back in her day. And if you look at a lot of her moves, you can see where All Might might have found the inspiration for some of his. So I think in terms of fan service, this character is awesome. In the context of the game, she's cool, but not the coolest character the game has seen. She has a unique gimmick that no one else has. Biking has done it again. She doesn't feel like a copy of anyone, even if some of her moves are references to All Might. They are still used in very different ways, so I think she's fun as hell. But it also feels like she's missing something, especially in Rising. Rising is the weakest part of her kit, in my opinion. Not every character in this game feels like they get a lot stronger in Rising, sure, but it also sucks to play those characters. Popping Rising should feel like a reward. It should always have a unique effect that makes you feel more powerful. And with her, I feel a bit faster, but that's it. I don't have trouble activating Float outside of Rising, so making it easier for me has no impact at all. But then again, we're talking about a character whose quirk is literally just floating around. And if that's your starting blueprint, I think to create all of this from just that is very impressive. And that's my review for Nana. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know who you think the final 3 DLC characters are in the comments down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!